All right, everybody, welcome to this kind of DIY or this how-to video on how to use Adobe Fireworks. This is a pretty cool software. I like it a lot for students. If you've used any of the Adobe software before, you'll know kind of how it works. Things like Adobe Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator. Adobe Fireworks is kind of like a simpler version of those things. It's great introductory kind of vector-based software for you guys to use. If you're looking for this software, it is the gold logo. You can go down to your little window bar down here. You can click on the Adobe Master Collection and look for Adobe Fireworks FW. And that is the software we're going to use for this. So make sure you pull that up. And when you do, the first window you're going to see is going to look an awful lot like this. Now, Adobe Fireworks is very cool because if you look on the left-hand side of this, you're going to notice that it has kind of a recent item bar, and it's going to show you some of the things you've worked on in the past. If you haven't used this software before, nothing's going to show up. But as you work through your projects, they'll start to show up here. And if you come in the following day, a lot of times, as long as you're working at your assigned computer, you'll see the assignment from yesterday. You'll be able to click on it, and you'll be able to start that project once again. But for today, because today we're going to be looking at creating some Olympic pictograms, we're going to be focused right here on the firework documents, create new firework documents. Now, you guys should already know what I'm talking about when I say Olympic pictograms. These are the symbols that are used for the Olympic Games to symbolize the different events and sports that take place at the event. It's super important that they have these well-designed pictograms because you have people coming from all different nations and speak all different languages. So this is a visual language that we can use to communicate which sports are taking place at what venues easily without using any actual words. So it's a visual language that is super important. Because of that, and we've discussed this already, or we should have discussed this already, it's important that these look more like gestures, that they are less like stick figures, okay, so that it's easier to identify what sport is taking place. So make sure this looks more like a gesture, less like a stick figure, and if it doesn't make sense, I'll show you in a minute what we're talking about. But first, we actually create our first canvas, our first document. So I clicked on that, and now it's going to ask me what I want for my sizes. Yours is probably set at pixels right now, so the first thing you have to do is change pixels to inches. You're going to do that for your width and your height. So change pixels to inches, pixels to inches. Then once that's done, you can go over here and click 6 inches by 6 inches. You'll notice mine was already there because I've already been working in the software to create pictograms, but yours, if this is the first time you're creating it, those numbers will be very different. So I have 6 inches by 6 inches. Make sure it says that. If it says 6 pixels by 6 pixels, that is super tiny, and your document will become super tiny, and you don't want that. Resolution is here. It's probably, most likely, the default is 72 pixels per inch. That is fine for what we're doing for this project. You can just keep that. And then for your canvas color, we're going to go with white, and then we're going to push OK. Now, I have to be honest here. You'll notice a lot of stuff has popped up. And one of the things I noticed when I was doing video capture of my computer is that sometimes all the bars here don't show up. So I'm just going to kind of move my cursor where these bars should be. And hopefully they show up in the video, but if they don't, they will definitely show up on your screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the top. We're going to click on Window. And there is a variety of different things that could potentially be clicked on yours. But you'll notice there's only 3 clicked on mine. The Tools, not the toolbar, the Tools, Properties, and Layers. Make sure all those are clicked on, and when that happens, it will remove a lot of the clutter, all those extra things that you probably have on the right side here, and really get it down to just basically what you need. As we start across, I'm actually going to start on the right-hand side, and I don't know if it's showing up on this actual video, but if not, it should be showing up on your actual screen. You'll notice there should be, in this area, a layers box, and that layers box shows you all the different layers, essentially, all the different parts of your project, all the different components of what you're trying to create will appear right on the side, and hopefully it's showing up on your screen, even if it's not showing up on mine. On the bottom is our properties. Okay, and yours might look a little bit different than mine. It's okay. We haven't really started working the project yet, so it does not matter. And then, obviously, most importantly, if you've ever used an artistic software before, you're probably familiar with the tools, and they're showing up here on the side. Because this is vector-based software, the most important tool is located in this area. The most important tools, I should say, are located in this area where it's marked vectors. Especially this pen tool here, we're going to use a lot of this. But to start, we're going to use our shape tool. So if you hold the button down, you're going to see a variety of different shapes. We're going to go for the rectangle tool because we're going to create a border. And I'm going to create a border, but I notice right now if I just look at my document, oh my gosh, I can't see the top or bottom. It cuts off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch mine down. You can change the size of your document. I'm going to go down to 66%, and that's going to allow me to see my whole document. I'm going to create a square in there. Just drag this across. I'm holding my mouse button down, and as I drag it across, you're going to notice a blue outline show up where my square is going to be. Okay, and then when I let go, it's going to create my box. Now, if yours does not look like mine, do not worry. Okay, some of you might see a gray box right now. Some of you might not see a border. That's okay. If it's the first time you're using this, your defaults might be different. Let's go down underneath here to properties. Okay, where I'm looking at the properties, you're going to see this little paint bucket. Okay, right now mine's set at white, so the background of this is white. I actually don't want it to be white. I'm going to set it for transparent. So if I hold the button down for a second, this window will pop up and gives me a variety of colors. I should mention this project is going to be a purely black and white project. We'll do color on future projects, but this one's purely black and white. So for this one, we're going to go right up here to the transparent button. And we're going to click on that now. Even though it didn't look like much changed, instead of a white background, this is actually see-through. This is transparent. I'm seeing the canvas color right now. Then this little pencil here should be set at black. Mine is. Yours might not be. Yours might be transparent. Switch it to black. Get it black. Okay, next up, I have a border, and it's set at a beautiful number, 15. The tip size is 15. Yours might be so small. Look at what happens when I do 1. Not even all the lines show up. So if that's the case, and if you're not seeing all your lines, turn that bad boy up. Let's get it up to maybe like somewhere between 10 to 20 on our little scale here. I mean, obviously you can go all the way to the top and it's going to be a ridiculous size. We're going to go somewhere between 10 and 20, and that's going to create a really sleek looking border. Now this is pretty cool. You guys are going to be creating a series of pictograms, and you really want to make sure your border is customized to your own unique style. So you can actually check the rectangle roundness down here. And again, if you pick a number between 10 and 20, it's going to round the corners of your square, and that's really sleek looking, and it's a really cool design. I just would recommend whatever number you put in here, number 1, use that same number throughout all the pictograms that you create because you want your style to be evident in all those projects that you're doing. And number 2, don't go too high. I said 10 to 20 is a good number, maybe a little bit higher if you want. If you go all the way up to here to 100, you can see the rectangle roundness, it's no longer a square at all, it is a circle. So definitely you want to pick a lower number so that it just gives it a little bit of a stylistic look, but not so much that it no longer looks like a square. So if the layers are showing up on yours, and hopefully it's showing up on mine, but if it's not, I'll describe what you're seeing here. You should see one highlighted blue layer right now that says rectangle, and it actually shows what your square looks like. We work with different layers in this project. We're going to have something like 5 or 6 different layers on this specific assignment. You, on your assignments, could have way more layers than that, okay? And that's okay. For right now, though, you should only see one rectangle layer that shows up on your layers that should show up somewhere around here. So now we actually have to start working on our athlete. So to do that, I'm going to start with his head. I'm going to go back to my shape tool, and I'm going to change the rectangle tool to the ellipse tool, and that's going to allow me to create a circle. So here we go, and you can see when I let go, my invisible athlete now has a cranium, and you can really choose what you want to do. Right now he has a kind of an empty white cranium, but if you want, you could change that to black if you'd rather, whichever looks best. But again, try to just remember that your style is important. So if you go with a black head, maybe keep it consistent throughout all your pictograms. Next up, so we have two layers over on the side here, and it's our rectangle and our ellipse. Next up, we're going to actually, and this is the hard part, we're going to actually start creating the body of our athlete. So I'm going over to my pen tool on the toolbar, on the tools, underneath vector, the pen tool. And this is confusing for a lot of students. So pay super close attention, and I'll go through it kind of slow so you guys can get this. This isn't like drawing. The pen tool is not like drawing. It uses what's called anchor points, or some people call them drop points. You're going to create the end points to your line. So what I'm going to do is I want his neck to start somewhere around here. So I want you to listen to what I'm saying and really comprehend what I'm saying here. I'm going to click my left mouse button once, okay? My finger's not on the mouse button anymore, okay? But if I slide the mouse without pushing the button, you're going to see a dot, an anchor point, and I'm still connected to that anchor, okay? You can see that blue line. That shows you what that line is going to end up looking like. So when I create my second drop point, I'm going to click the mouse button once, and then I'm going to take my finger off the left mouse button, okay? And when I slide around, again, you see I'm still connected to that point. So if I want to be disconnected from that point, I go back to that same point that I'm currently connected to, I double click on it, and now I'm free. I've created my first line. If you look over on your layers over here on the right hand side, hopefully you have 3 layers. One says rectangle, one says ellipse, one says path. And one thing you guys are already saying, I can already hear you guys, Mr. Specht, right now, this looks like it's going to be a stick figure, not a gesture. You're not using curved lines, you're using straight lines. And you are absolutely correct. If you hand in a project that uses predominantly straight lines, you are going to lose points. So you definitely want to make sure this looks more like a gesture. And the way we curve lines is we go to one of the 2 drop points. As long as you're not connected, you can go to one of the 2 drop points. You can hold your mouse button down this time. And when I hold the mouse button down and I move my mouse, you're going to see it's going to start to bend the bar. Now this is a very, very hard technique for a lot of kids the first time they try it, but once you know it, you're a pro. So I'm going to bend the bar the way I want it. We're going to go with something like this, okay? And as you can see, it turns out to be a curved line, a gesture. This is really cool because this is going to help us create a cool, expressive look to our figure. So if you couldn't figure out just yet, we are working on a track figure. We're going to create someone who's running, and you're going to see more and more of that as we put this together. But before we move on, I'm still connected to that point. I got to double click to get free. And now I'm free. So 3 layers so far. Again, if you don't like anything about your line right now, you can go down here and change the width under your properties. You can play around with that stuff. It's a lot of fun. Let's test your skills. Let's make another curved line. We're going to create his other leg so it looks like he's running. So I'm going to create a drop point. You, once again, click the mouse button once. Don't hold the mouse button down. Do not hold the mouse button down. And you can see I have my drop point. Click the mouse button a second time. Do not hold the mouse button down until you are ready to curve that line, until you're ready to bend that line. If I hold the mouse button down on the drop point and I slowly start bending that line, when I let go, it's going to create a cool curved line. If I double click to get free, I have an awesome kind of running figure. Of course, he doesn't currently have arms. We're going to fix that in a minute. This time, though, we're going to use 3 drop points. So this is going to be a little different. Watch me. Click it once, hand off the mouse button. Click it twice, hand off the mouse button. Click it a 3rd time. Again, straight lines are not our friends for this one. We want it to be expressive. We want it to be a gesture. I'm going to bend this line down. Let go. There it is. Double click to get free. I'm going to bend this line up. Let go. Double click to get free. And as you can see right now, my figure is looking pretty good. Looking like a running figure. Over on the side, I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hopefully it shows it up here on your layers. 5 layers, rectangle, ellipse, path, path, path. So that's what I have so far. Now, what's cool is if you go up here to the select tools, you can actually pick one of these arrows. And if you get to a point where you're like, some of this stuff just does not look the way I want it to look, you can actually slide these individual pieces around to get it to be exactly what you want it to look like. And you want to make sure you have enough room to, we're going to put text in here in just a moment. So you want to make sure you have enough room for that. So make sure you slide everything to you want. But some of you guys might be saying, Mr. Speck, mine's either too small or too big. How do I change that because I need to be able to fit in words? Well, one easy thing you can do is you can push the shift button on your keyboard, and when you click on stuff, it stays highlighted. So I'm going to click on just the body parts, not the border, and it allows me to slide my figure around the way I want it. And then, while it's all still highlighted, if I go up here to Modify, Transform, Scale, that's Modify, Transform, Scale, I can actually shrink this bad boy down, make it bigger, whatever I want to do, get it exactly the way that you want. So I think this looks really, really good right now. Hopefully yours looks good too. When I click on the side, it's going to stop everything from being highlighted. I have a beautiful pictogram so far, but we're not done yet. We're back down to vectors on your tools, and I'm going to click on the text tool this time. Now, text is something we're going to talk about a lot this year. Typography is so very important in graphic design. You want to be able to pick a font that's easily readable for this project. For the most part, people are pretty lazy when it comes to reading stuff, and if you pick a fancy font, they're not going to bother to even pay attention to it. So, pick some like simple fonts, like brush script would be way too complex. Don't pick it. People are lazy. Even like Broadway, it's just there's too much. Pick something simple. Arial font is always one of your most simple, basic fonts, and we want basic for this particular assignment. So I picked Arial font, and I'm going to type in the word T-R-A-C-K, track. Now, it looks like nothing showed up. What's the deal here? Well, if you highlight this, you'll notice the words are actually there, but if I go down to my property bar, currently my color is set at white. There's my problem. If I click on it, I can change it to whatever color I want. Again, black and white project. I'm going to change it to black. And now, there they are. There is my word. Some of you might be saying, well, the words look kind of boring. Is there anything else I can do with that? I mean, you could try making it bolder if you wanted to. Since our figure's running, what I'm going to do for mine is I'm going to put it in italics. So it looks like it's kind of moving with my figure. And when I slide the word track here, I can get it exactly where I want. And I don't know, I think it's a pretty good first pictogram. I hope yours looks good too. If it's not, practice a little bit more. And you can always rewind this video. You can always go back into this video and check out any of the parts that you're struggling with and go back and try to practice that stuff. Most importantly, though, of course, you want to make sure that this stuff does not get lost. So I highly, highly encourage you to save this into your graphic design folder. And if you don't have a graphic design folder on your U drive, I would highly suggest you do that. And then we're just going to go up here to File, Save As, and we're going to find that folder. You can see these are my folders. Yours won't look anything like mine. We're going to find our graphic design folder, and we're going to drop it into our pictogram folder. And we're going to call this one Practice. So you can just call it Practice. And for right now, you want to make sure that this thing, it says Save As Type, you want to make sure this stays as a Fireworks PNG. Okay, a Fireworks PNG. Later on, I'm going to show you how to save it for saving it to eCampus and whatnot. But if you're planning on going back into this, and you may go back into this and work on this at any point, you got to save those layers, and the only way to save your layers is to keep it as a PNG. And then you just click save, and just make sure it's saved, and it'll stay inside your graphic design folder. So the reason I had you title this one practice is because it is in fact a practice. You are not going to turn this one in as one of your assignments. So I want you to go through, I want you to make sure you know which events you're going to do for the Winter Olympics, for the Summer Olympics, and I want you to create a really, really unique pictogram, a very unique gesture, something that is super, super expressive. So if I did not speak, if I could not read English, I could look at that and know exactly which event you were trying to portray in your artwork, which is not easy to do, but you guys got the time, you got the tools, you have this video to use as a resource. I'm sure that you will do a great job. You'll feel comfortable with it, and you'll do a great job on this particular project. All right. Thank you guys so much for paying attention to this, and I'm really excited to see what kind of stuff you guys come up with. Good luck.